This movie is based on a novel of the same name. It tells the tale of a romance between an Azerbaijan Muslim and a Georgian Orthodox, with World War I as the backdrop of their story. We see Ali and Nino, our two main protagonists, enjoying a calming horseback ride along the mountains. It seems like nothing is wrong with the world as they dance and share sweet looks. However, this is only a wistful imagination, as their reality is more tragic due to the war-torn period they are in. Their story starts in 1914. Ali Khan Shirvanshir is a prince of Baku, Azerbaijan, son of Safar Khan. During their long walk in the valleys of the Caucasus mountain ranges, Ali informs his father about his intention to marry Nino Kipiani. Safar isn't against this intention, but he worries more about whether Nino's hips are suitable for childbearing. Regardless, he gives his blessing, and even requests a grandchild by next year. In Tbilisi, Nino is with her mother. They're on their way to their summer house to celebrate her father's ennoblement. Nino Kipiani belongs to a wealthy Christian Orthodox family. Her father has just been given the title of prince, so by relativity she is a princess. She remembers the first time she met Ali Khan. It was during his graduation celebration. She remembers he asked her for a dance, and she gladly gave it. Nino can't wait to meet him again. In the summer house, several important guests are invited for a simple yet meaningful dinner to celebrate Prince Kipiani. As they start on their course, a man politely asks Nino if he can sit beside her. This man is Malik Nakararyani, a member of a noble family in Armenia. He's one of Prince Kipiani's associates in the oil business. At first glance, Malik is enchanted by Nino's sweet and innocent beauty. But the lady only has eyes for Ali, who arrives late due to travel issues. The guests may be oblivious to it, but Ali and Nino share expressive glances, as if they have their own way of communicating without the world knowing. Prince Kipiani offers Ali a tour of his garden and his ancient trees after dinner, but the latter refuses. Malik wonders what he has against trees when the deserts where Ali came from are only sand and scrubs. He also adds that eagles come from the mountains and tigers from the forest, but nothing comes from sand. Ali defends his stance, saying it's what he loves about the desert: its simplicity and straightforwardness. Lions and warriors come from there as well. The prince jokingly adds it's also the source of their wealth, the oil. It's clear in this short interaction between the two men that Ali is more diplomatic and open-minded compared to Malik, and his rather narrow views on a different culture. After the dinner, the couple rendezvous in the garden. Ali congratulates Nino on becoming a princess. Nino likes the title very much. He says she has to give it up, though, if she's going to get married. She immediately and correctly assumes Ali is about to propose to her. She asks if he'll always love her, to which he says yes. Next, she asks if he'll stay with her and take no other wives. He affirms. She also asks if his father will require her to convert to their religion, to which Ali answers no. Then, she says she's always wanted to go to Paris. He promises her to bring her there on their honeymoon. And with that, he asks her to marry him. Nino gladly says she will, and they share their first kiss as an engaged couple. In August 1914, Ali receives a telegram from his father. He informs his son that the Tsar has decided to join the war. He wants Ali to come home and do his duty. For context, remember that the movie's setting is in World War I. The Allies, Russia, Great Britain, and France, were against their enemies, Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Turkey, then known as the Ottoman Empire. Azerbaijan used to be a Russian colony, therefore the Tsar demanded their forces to join and support. Their oil deposits were a great asset for supplies and transportation. Ali comes back to Baku at once. However, when he returns, he lets his father know about his differing views on the matter. He points out they don't owe Russia anything. The country invaded them 100 years ago and took power from them. They're an occupied country. More than anything else, they should liberate themselves instead of helping their conqueror. Besides, they have no reason to fight against their Muslim cousins in Turkey, other than the cause of those Christian countries. Ali tells the same point of view with his friends, Ilyas and Maimed, when they visit him, along with Nino from Tbilisi. While playing billiards, they discuss the war fronts. Ilyas and Maimed are all up for it because they like fighting. Nino is amused by their simple men logic. They even tease Ali for choosing to go back to school instead, saying that studying is boring. They ask the opinion of Sayyid Mustafa, Ali's loyal servant. He agrees with his master. They have nothing to do with this conflict. After this discussion, Nino asks Ali about when he'll come to her father to tell them about their engagement. With this, Ali realizes he has far more important things to focus on. Soon, Ali makes his journey along the coastal road, where hundreds of oil rigs are set up. He finds Prince Kipiani just finishing a conversation with the Tsar's messenger, assuring him of a steady supply of oil. Then the prince greets him, saying it's a regrettable thing, but war makes an extremely lucrative business. Inside his office, the prince listens as Ali explains how he can support Nino when they get married. He ends his speech by asking the prince's permission for their union. Unfortunately, Kipiani isn't as supportive of their relationship as Ali first thought him to be, especially when it comes to their different religions and backgrounds. The old man asks if he can wait until the war is over before marrying Nino. Ali feels betrayed. He rides his horse into the city, where he runs into Malik. He can't help but relieve his disappointments onto the nobleman. 100 years ago, a Kipiani would have kissed their feet for this marriage offer. When Malik asks what he will do, he says he plans to kidnap Nino. Malik says he's not against the idea. After all, from his point of view, it's the traditional way to settle things in this matter. However, it should be the last resort. What they need to do first is to convince Prince Kipiani that this marriage is the most advantageous, socially, culturally, and politically. And to do that, someone has to be the middleman. Malik offers himself to do the job. Ali finds it generous of him and gives him his full trust. That night, in the Kipiani household, Nino is questioning her father's decision. The war could last for a long time. There's no need for her to have more thinking time because she's set on marrying Ali. On the other hand, her mother is more concerned about her becoming a part of his harem. When Nino tells them about Ali's promise not to take other wives, the mother dismisses it. She tells her she's too naive to believe him. When men get what they want, they don't remember their promises. Nino feels cornered as her parents are set against the marriage. Ali tells Nino about Malik's plan. The trio meet at a restaurant to discuss their options. Ali has great faith that his new friend will be able to convince the Kipianis. Malik starts visiting their home to converse with Nino's parents. However, from a stranger's point of view, it looks like Malik is there to court Nino instead, and is trying to win her parents' approval. Of course, that is not the agreement between the three of them. However, the couple is not aware of how ardent Malik's feelings are for Nino. He's never forgotten her beauty since the day he first saw her. In truth, he wants her all for himself. Meanwhile, Ali meets with Ilyas and Maimed, who have officially joined the military. They give Ali updates about the war. To their dismay, they're not allowed on the front lines because the officers are afraid they may not go well against their Muslim enemies. But there's a far more serious reason. The other officers' discrimination against them is very blatant, as seen when a soldier orders pork chops for them. They feel that, aside from the war they're fighting in, they also need to defend themselves from prejudice. Later, Ali meets with Nino to ask how Malik is doing. She says he's doing his best, but it seems like it will take a while. They enjoy a walk along the streets, but their reprieve is spoiled by the war prisoners marching near them. In the next scene, we see the couple meeting up with Fatali Khan, an influential political figure. He aims for Azerbaijan's independence, and thinks that if the Russians are defeated in this war, they'll have a great chance to break free. He's already starting his political campaign by recruiting allies to his cause. One day, Nino calls Ali to update him about Malik's progress with her parents. Malik is trying to explain the benefits of mixed marriages, but he gets distracted by Nino's soft silhouette. One may possibly think he's talking about him and Nino when he's talking about mixed marriage, since he's Armenian and she's Georgian. None of them are aware of his burning desire to have the girl. That night, he accompanies Nino to the theater as a favor. While Nino is engrossed by what's happening on stage, Malik is looking at her. A plan is starting to form in his mind. After the show, he drives her home. Along the way, Sayed sees the car and decides to follow it. When the car arrives in front of the Kipiani household, Malik is contemplating what he's about to do. Overcome by his emotions, he stops Nino from getting out. Then he reveals to her how much he likes her. He attempts to kiss her, but she stops him, understandably confused. He says they can escape the country, get married in Moscow, and live in London. Without waiting for anything, he steps on the pedal and drives away. The Kipiani butler sees this and reports this to the master of the house. From across the road, Sayed witnesses this as well. He rushes back to the Shirvanshir palace. Inside, Ali is unaware of what has happened. He's in a meeting with Fatali, Safar, Ilyas, Maimed, and other political dignitaries. Fatali is convincing them that this war will not benefit their country. They should be thinking of liberating themselves. Ali supports this cause, adding that, once they get their independence, they don't need to go back to the way they were before they were invaded. They can become the first progressive Muslim nation. There are mixed responses to this after the meeting, but for Fatali, it's only the start. Just as Ali goes back inside the house, Sayed arrives to report what he's seen. He says Malik and Nino are headed to the coast road. Ali doesn't waste time. He grabs a dagger and rides out on his horse. In time, he catches up with the car, but he chose to go on a different route to cut their way. When Nino sees Ali, she grabs the wheel, causing the car to crash into a shallow ditch. Malik gets out of the car to meet the enraged Ali, only to be punched in the face. The two men grapple on the ground, and when Ali brings out his dagger, they each struggle to get a hold of it. Malik manages to grab the dagger and injure Ali. The latter kicks the weapon off his hand, then the two men fall on a puddle of oil residuals, where they continue to wrestle. In the end, Ali takes Malik's life by digging the dagger deep into his chest. Nino witnesses all of it. She runs to Ali, just as Ilyas, Maimed, and Sayed arrive. Ilyas brings Nino home, where she relays the grim news to her parents. Meanwhile, Ali is immediately taken care of by the family doctor. As the night progresses, Safar learns that the Nakararians have put a price on his son's head. He decides to send him to the mountains of Dagestan, where their people can certainly take care of him while he lays low from the Nakararians' vengeance. With the help of Sayed and Ilyas, Ali starts his painstaking journey, worried about leaving Nino. Just after leaving the palace, Prince Kipiani and his family go to the Shirvanshir palace. The Kipianis want to wed their daughter to Safar's son. As it happens, many have seen Malik's actions earlier, and the news about his demise has spread out fast. Even if there's no sexual interaction that happened, Nino's reputation as a pure Christian woman has been tainted. And in their era, it can make or break a woman's life. The only honorable way is to marry her off to Ali. But Safar refuses. He says his son is in no condition to be in a union, as he's already on his way to Dagestan. Dejected, the Kipianis return to their household. In the next few days, they suffer the judgment of society regarding their so-called disgraced daughter. They even have to face the anger of the Nakararians who are still looking for justice. Nino is forbidden to go out anymore, making her feel down and isolated. Around winter, Prince Kipiani decides to send his daughter to Moscow. There, it's certain no one knows her and her story. She protests, but her father's decision is firm and final. Cornered into submission, Nino takes drastic action. In Dagestan, Ali slowly recuperates. He's welcomed into a small village in the mountains, very far from city life and comfort. But he's never forgotten Nino, and he misses her so much. That's why, one morning, he's surprised to find her there. He thinks he's dreaming until he finally holds her. Nino says she asked Said to bring her there. Their love and longing for each other overcome every other thought in their head. They passionately make love with each other. After some time, Ali comes out of the hut and finds Said patiently waiting. He asks him to find a mullah, an educated Muslim in religious rites and practices, to conduct their marriage. But Said says he's capable of doing it. In no time, Ali and Nino have their marriage witnessed by the villagers in the snowy mountaintops of Caucasia. After affirming their intention to be each other's spouse, they finally sign their document, with Nino finally using Ali's last name. The villagers celebrate their union. With a wax seal, their document becomes official. Ali and Nino start living a life of simplicity and hard work, very far from the luxury and convenience the city offers. Nino writes to her parents informing them of her choice and her life in the mountains. She says they raise their own chickens, grow their own vegetables, and their toil contributes to the village sustenance. But she can honestly say that she has never been happier in her life. It may not be the luxurious life she envisioned with Ali, but she's certainly content by his side. Ali tries his best to bring some comfort to his wife's living, since she's not accustomed to it. He offers to wash her feet, and even manages to acquire a gramophone so they can dance in their little hut, or just outside. Their days are filled with chores and herding sheep, and their nights are filled with passionate lovemaking. Without knowing it, 3 years have passed. It's 1917 when Safar Khan decides to visit them. He brings them monumental news that will change the course of their lives. The Tsar of Russia has decided to abdicate the throne due to the civil unrest in his country. Because of this, the Russian troops in Baku have retreated, leaving the city in chaos. The Nakararians chose to flee to Moscow, while the Kipianis decided to go back to Tbilisi. Ali considers going back, but Nino says they're better off here in the mountains. However, deep inside her, she knows her husband's great love for his country, and his aspirations for its independence. Soon, the couple goes back to Baku with Safar. Upon arriving there, they can see that the city is in disarray, not because of lack of order, but because of an impending invasion. The military officers, led by Ilyas, gather all the abled men in the town square to relay the situation. The deserters from the previous Tsar's army are starting to pillage every village on their way, inching closer to Baku. They need men who will defend the city. In no time, all the citizens are evacuated to safer places. Ali greets his old friends, Ilyas and Maimed, who have grown mature in the years they haven't seen each other. Including Sayed, they plan their defense against the enemies. Nino helps in the infirmary, assisting the aides in treating wounds. The deserters arrive. At first, the Baku soldiers successfully hold their defense, but they haven't taken into account the sheer number of men coming their way. The battle becomes a close combat, with many losing their lives instantly. Unfortunately, Maimed is one of them. Ilyas has no choice but to pull back his men to safety. They have enough lives. Ali goes to Nino and asks her to go with his father to Persia, while he stays to help Ilyas. She doesn't want to. She is pregnant, and she needs Ali by her side. But for the sake of their baby, she agrees. After a few days of travel, Safar and Nino arrive at Tehran, Persia. He introduces her to her eunuch, Yahya Guli. It soon becomes apparent that Nino doesn't like living there. She is treated as a part of Ali's harem, even if her husband doesn't follow this specific practice. She can't go out to bazaars without wearing a veil. And her eunuch is insufferable, wanting to do things to her, which makes her feel uncomfortable. Her only light in her lonely time is the memories she has with her husband, specifically that magical night when they first danced together. Meanwhile, Ali is working hard to defend his country. They have derailed numerous train tracks to stop the advance of the enemies. Winter passes, and soon summer comes. In May 1918, the soldiers of Baku receive a piece of wonderful news. Fatali Khan comes to one of their camps to declare the establishment of a new southern nation, as per the National Council. Starting that day, they will be called the Azerbaijan Democratic Republic. Everyone rejoices with this news. Ali decides to see Nino in Persia. She's happy to see him again and the victory they gained. But because of her delicate nature, she can't help but feel resentment, as she thinks that he has abandoned her, in a way. Later that night, she comes to his room to apologize. She asks him what is more important, her and their child or his country. He can't choose because both are equally important to him. and they both know what his answer will be. To appease his wife, Ali stays with her until she gives birth. On that day, he receives another great news, the birth of his daughter. After a few months, in the summer of 1919, Ali and Nino return to Baku. The city is still doing its best to recuperate from the destruction the war caused. They return to the Treachery Palace, one of the major casualties of the fighting. The couple gears up to renovate the place, return it to its former glory, and make it the beacon of hope for Baku. While the restorations are underway, Fatali assigns Ali to be his deputy foreign minister. As the newly assigned prime minister of Azerbaijan, he finds it challenging to lead a newly established nation along the treacherous waters of politics. He needs someone he can trust to be his right-hand man. Ali accepts his role gladly. In no time, Baku starts getting back on its feet. The citizens have gone back to the way they used to live. The restoration of the Treachery Palace is not yet done, but most of it is already suited to receive guests. Ali and Nino are great hosts to their visitors. Theaters have opened again, one of the few leisures that Nino enjoys. It seems like they finally have the peace they've been aiming for a long time. But none of them knows this is only a reprieve. 6 months later, on the Azerbaijan-Russian border, Ali and Ilyas discover a massive Russian military camp. At that time, Russia was under the new rule of Vladimir Lenin, who was more iron-fisted with his administrations. The newly formed military force under his rule was the Bolsheviks, more popularly known as the Red Army. Ali is suspicious about this development because it looks like the Russians are disregarding the diplomatic recognition granted to them by the Treaty of Versailles. He reports this to Fatali. However, the prime minister remains complacent and confident that their neighboring country will honor the friendship treaty between them. Meanwhile, Prince Kipiani finally visits his daughter. He can see how happy and satisfied she is, but he still worries about her safety. He asks if she can consider coming home to Tbilisi. He warns her that the new Russian ruler wants Baku oil to continue his socialist revolution. This may spell another tragedy in their country. Despite this, Nino is resolute in staying with Ali. In the blink of an eye, the Red Army starts their advance toward Baku. Ali and Nino have no choice but to flee via train, along with Fatali and Ilyas. Sayed remains. Unfortunately, he's among the first ones who lost their lives in this new invasion. Along the way, Ali has been contemplating heavily on what he's about to do. When they reach one of the train stops, and he sees Fatali talking to Ilyas, he makes up his mind. He informs Nino he'll stay to make sure the train will get away. Nino is strongly against this. She has been separated from him before, she can't bear to do it the second time. Ali gently explains to him he's doing this so their daughter can grow up in a safe country, in a future where her identity, her culture, is established. He can't run away while Azerbaijan falls again in the hands of their conqueror. It's hard for Nino to accept this, but she loves Ali. She tries to be optimistic. She tells him that when he comes back to them, they must go to Paris to fulfill that honeymoon promise. Ali smiles and affirms that he will be back by Friday. And with that, he kisses her for the last time before stepping off the train. Nino carries their daughter, and through the window, they say goodbye to him. As the train starts to run, Ali tries to chase it, but he's made his decision. With only a handful of men, Ali and Ilyas plant bombs along the train tracks to cut off any transportation out of Baku. The Red Army is almost upon them, marching their way like robots. The bombs have destroyed the tracks, but the explosion doesn't stop the enemies from advancing. Ali and the others are facing the same situation as before. Their small number is no match to the thousands of Bolsheviks coming upon them. At one point, the encounter becomes a gunfight. Many of Ali's men meet their demise. Then, Ilyas gets hit. Ali knows it's futile to fight them alone, but he won't go down as a coward. A bullet hits him, then another, finally claiming his life. His last memories are of his wife, and the first time they danced during that ball. Ali lost his life at the age of 24. In the aftermath of the events, many things have happened. Nino has fled to Paris with her daughter. 6 weeks later, assassins find Fatali Khan and terminate his life. Azerbaijan is occupied again, this time by the Soviet Union. It will be 71 years before the country can truly claim its independence.